What is up, YouTube? This is episode 9 of the Spiritual Warrior, the 5D Spiritual Warrior podcast. And I'm here with my co-host, John Strick, as
What's going on,
always.
guys? What's going on?
As always. And we're going to be discussing, don't really have a plan today, but we're just going to be discussing whatever comes to mind. And I wanted to dive in on the universe, infinitely expanding.
We have no notes for today. We're strictly downloading from the infinite, and we're gonna spill it out.
Just spilling it. All right. So a fun little fact for you is, I'm sure you know, the universe it's said to be infinitely expanding at the speed of light, right? So there's, as far as we can see, there's always going to be more galaxies showing up to us. Not that they don't exist already, but we've only been on Earth long enough for light to get that far. You know what I'm saying? So we would only be able to reach them. So if you think about the universe like a balloon, right? It's not that the galaxies are actually traveling at the speed of light away from us. It's actually like the universe is inflating like that to our awareness that is here on Earth, which is interesting.
Yeah, we can get it. That's a good point. Because so in the Bible, right, it says the first word was God or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it really means the first word was logos, right? We can get into the logos, which is also in the law of one. So what the logos is basically everything is consciousness, and everything is always creating infinitely, right? So we have the infinite creator, the logos, you could say. But so then the infinite creator sends out a bunch of light waves, like, right, creates
consciousness, which is himself or itself.
Yeah, sends out waves of consciousness, light energy, just sends it out, right? Then, so for example, use our solar system. The sun gets created, right? And then that our sun has consciousness. That sun produces our planets. So think of the planets as the children of the sun. And that's why the sun is depicted as God in all ancient religions and all that stuff. But so then we have each planet is consciousness. So each planet, also the sun and everything that's living in the universe, all consciousness has to awaken to the consciousness, right? So think of like, as we've gone over the densities, right? So once you get up to the highest levels, some people say there's only 8, some say there's 10, 12, right? No one really knows. We haven't been there yet. But so you have, say we'll go with 8, right? Once you reach the octave, right? So the octave is essentially like your consciousness is now like you've gained the collective of all humans on your planet, all other beings in your galaxy, all consciousness, right?
It's the full circle evolution of the soul. So it starts from beingness and it returns to beingness, where it starts from fire, earth, water, air, ether, right? That's the simplest element of the soul, right? Beingness, until it can then become self-aware, and then that self-awareness then moves to beingness, right? So some people believe that
it's almost
some people believe about the sun, right? So the sun would be the highest level of consciousness or awareness that a soul could achieve, right? So like essentially saying that through our self-knowledge, we eventually would move up the consciousness scale and be a sun of sorts, if that makes sense. But then the octave, exactly. So the octave would be when that sun or light body, because the sun is just a body of light, when that light body then finishes its life cycle and collapses in on itself and forms a black hole. And that black hole would then be the octave in the creator of its own kind of galaxy within itself.
If just got the first picture of a black hole last year.
Yeah, well, you can't see inside of it. You could just see the ripples around it. Yeah.
It's like, because no light can escape from a black hole, but it's just
exactly.
Just like almost like a little red circle.
Yeah.
With blackness.
We know very little about our universe and what's out there, which is quite incredible.
Yeah, and as far as, but like we were saying, so all the planets have to go through evolution of consciousness, right? And then eventually, like, when you get to the octave, right, like Corey said, you become like the sun, right, theoretically, or not hypothetically, because none of this is theory based on fact. But so then you become the sun, and then that sun essentially create your own solar system or galaxy or
universe. So it would be, I don't know, infinite, because everything's infinite.
Yeah,
But
but so yeah, we will essentially one day create our own universe within infinity, which
mhm,
is why the universe is ever expanding infinitely, because everything is consciousness and we're just always creating consciousness. So how
mhm,
can consciousness ever end if it's all there is and all there ever will be?
mhm. And that the thing is, it brings us back to like that infinite creator. The only reason we're awareness experiencing the universe is because that infinite creator wants to experience the creation that it's created.
Yeah,
Only thing that infinite creator or God, if you want to call it, doesn't know is where that God came from, right? So it's using awareness as a mechanism within itself to try and understand itself, right? The same way that we use meditation and breath work and other methods to understand ourselves, God still is trying to understand itself.
by creating universes, galaxies, solar systems, by all doing that and
Precisely.
essentially like when you get to like the level of the sun, say like the sun is just being, right? But it's consciousness, it's just
Mhm.
being. But
It's
so
giving.
it's
It's
like
giving. Like I had that consciousness scale up on the TikTok and in the last video. I put it up on the screen. I'll put it up here again, and you could see the different densities, and you can see where like the self-sacrifice or martyrdom at the sixth
yeah,
density is like unity consciousness, and then it once you achieve that, then it goes to seventh density, which would be that of the logos, the sun, right? And that would just be giving. Like think about the sun. Everything on the earth exists because of the sun. All life on earth exists because of the sun. That light, those light waves coming to our planet give rise for us, for the plants, for the animals, for the ocean, for the day and night cycles. Everything is is just because of the logos, which is that of the sun.
yeah, and everything. It's almost like everything is 360 degrees, right, in the universe. So
Mhm,
like the start of the universe was just the spirit, like think of one point, right? And then that spirit had to develop consciousness. So it got full 360-degree awareness of itself, of its spirit, self-awareness. And then to ever expand, it had to create another 360 degrees of awareness. So then that's where you get the Vesica Pisces. And then eventually you keep adding 360 degrees of awareness, and then you get the flower of life. And that flower of life goes into all is the building
the
blocks,
Metatron and all those
all
different
the
shapes.
sacred geometry, right? But so it's almost like it's the 360 degrees. And it also, you could also see that in the levels of consciousness, the densities, because the very first level, like you're just being. So think of like,
You could look at the Platonic solids are the level of being, and all of those are derived from that three-dimensional model of the flower of life, which is then the three-dimensional model of the Metatron. And all of those Platonic solids are derived from it, which are that of beingness.
yeah, and it's like you go from that beingness and then you work your way all the way up to densities until you have the full capacity to then create your own universe and then
Hmm.
just be with your universe and allow everything else to create for you. So it's like
Hmm.
you go from beingness at the lowest level to the highest level of also beingness. So like
Hmm.
it wraps all the way
It's all
around.
full circle, like the snake biting its tail, if you ever seen that one. Okay, so let's go on
I
to more human stuff rather than all this, I guess,
want to go.
hypothetical you could call it, right?
That's so lame.
So here there's a Cambridge scientist. I'm gonna screen share right now so you can see what I'm seeing. Um, where do I
Human
do
stuff
that
is
at?
lame.
Oh, here it is. All right. I will share my screen. So here, so you're seeing what I'm seeing right now. So
Bye. You don't got any.
scientists say, you see my screen?
Yeah, just
All right.
making sure you don't got any sus tabs open.
So scientists say there may be humans all over the universe in a galaxy far, far away. So this explains about how a University of Cambridge astrobiologist is theorizing that the cycle of evolution, which is convergent evolution, evolves to a specific path. Not that there's actually humans like us, Homo sapiens, on other planets, but rather consciousness and life evolves in a similar pattern, right? So not that they'll look exactly like us, but if you see down here, it says,
Even like we can get into like you text me this before, like just think of like Star Wars, right? So like
mhm.
all the aliens in Star Wars, they're all of all different kinds. Like there's a
Yeah.
million sort of Star Wars beings, right? But they're all essentially the same as us. As they walk upright, they have 2 arms, 2 legs, all that. They have a face. They also have souls. Like all beings have souls, and even like in a real aspect, this is if you want to look it up. So there's the 3 depictions of like the main aliens or like other extraterrestrials
Yeah.
Anunnaki that are in all history, and it's of the reptilians, the Greys, and the Nordics, right? And those also fill up
Follow
the
those
all
characteristics.
the same characteristics.
Whether they're here, whether they're out there, but those are the
Get
depictions we
into it.
see. So could humans be the dominant species in the universe and we just don't know it yet, which is
Oh,
an interesting thing because not that every planet evolves the same way, but what if we didn't evolve on this planet? We were brought here from somewhere else. I know you talked about the story of creation. You can look at the book of Enoch. You can look at it in the Sumerian tablets.
essentially we were though.
There's various different accounts of how humans, not that they weren't able to evolve from microbial bacteria, because at some point in our evolutionary history we would have, but you could see through stories of creation that we may have been planted here, right? You could see that in the story of the
Not
garden.
even necessarily planted here, but um manipulated with or toyed with in a sense
Mhm.
with our genetics.
Our
So
our genetic code.
yeah, so
Okay.
like at least the tablets say like Sumerian tablets, Emerald tablets, all these ancient texts that like we were essentially already here. Maybe we did get brought here, but from what I believe is like there were already existing hominids on Earth, whatever
Mhm.
kinds. Just think of cavemen essentially, and like those cavemen didn't have any self-awareness essentially. They did, but not in the sense of like how me and you are today, right? Like
Mhm.
they weren't as they were almost just like at the highest level of like the 2D
Mhm.
essentially. They had self-awareness, but like not really. But then you take the Anunnaki here, we're fully conscious, right? More so than we were at the
And
time, and
they tampered with our
they were
DNA.
yeah. And there's a story that Billy Carson says, if you don't believe me, how the Anunnaki on the planet at the time, what they did scientifically is they took our chromosome 2 and put telomere caps on it, right? Which essentially made us live shorter lives, and because essentially when the telomere caps, it doesn't allow the chromosome to or the DNA to live forever. So when the DNA or the chromosomes start to die out, that's when we die out, and it's now around 70 years, right? But then
120.
we essentially like we're living for thousands of years before they came and did this to us.
They
And then
said
they also
Billy Carson says it was 900, and with the telomere caps now in our DNA, the lifespan is 120 years. Is like very difficult to go over that for
but
humans.
it's supposed to be, yeah, it's like max 120, but
Mhm.
like that's
Exactly.
impossible.
So you can look at it now, and like we're talking about Sumerian tablets and texts that have been deciphered from a long time ago, but you can look at more modern examples of this where gene editing is occurring, right? You look at the fucking
Hey,
vaccine, the mRNA vaccine, right?
hey,
That's tampering with the mRNA in your body at a very like slight level, right? But then you can look at like bigger examples of it. They're doing experiments on animals and stuff, trying to tamper with DNA, trying to, I guess, like heal cancer and various illnesses and upgrade humans almost, right? And
and
there's been bans on gene editing, right? You could
yeah,
I
and if you don't believe that necessarily, just look at like the things with cloning. Like, pretty sure it was Bill Clinton, and like whenever he was president in the 90s, right?
mhm.
He came out and said like you could look this clip up, like we're banning cloning, right?
Yeah,
Like how are you banning cloning if it doesn't exist, right? So like
yeah,
that's like, and what essentially is cloning? It's just taking DNA and putting it in and letting it grow
mhm.
into a into a body like ourselves. And there's also not even if you don't believe it's happening with humans, you could
Here,
definitely believe that it's happening with an
take a look
animal.
at this. Take a look at this.
They had Dolly, the sheep or the lamb, they cloned that in back in the 90s as well.
Yeah.
So if you
What
don't
make
believe
if
in
you could do it to a
substances,
lamb or a sheep and do it perfectly, what makes you think we can't do it to a
well,
human?
they didn't do it perfectly that time, but
Yeah, not perfect, but
they
here. So
essentially
look,
could do it.
panel of experts call for ban of editing of human DNA. They're creating.
When is
It
this?
said some. It's about how they banned gene editing, and you can see they're talking about how they're creating like perfect babies almost like through these
Okay.
designer babies. Look, the IBC reports rapid advances in genetics are making designer babies an increasing possibility, prompting calls among scientists and bioethicists for a wider public debate about the power of science to modify genetically human embryos in the laboratory so as to control inherited state traits such as appearance and intelligence. So
Interesting.
that's a very interesting concept that people can like, oh, I want my baby to be real smart and I want him to be 6'8", like, oh, we could do that for you. Like that's a very weird concept. But yeah, I don't know too much about that. I'm gonna have to read
And
up.
neither do I, but it's definitely here. And they even say like back in the day, there was in vitro going on, and it's in the Sumerian tablets. They were able, same way today, you can go to the sperm bank and get, if you can't have a baby naturally, and get some sperm and put it in your, mix it with the eggs and create a baby like that in a lab.
Mhm.
They were doing this back in the day in the Sumerian tablets, and that has to go coincide with the Garden of Eden, which is was essentially, and I told the story the other day, but it was essentially just an outdoor laboratory, and these Anunnaki needed more um, people to fight their battles and do their work for them because they didn't want to do anything because they were so much better than us. Like they wanted us to bring them the food, us to worship them, us to do their slave work for them. And
Mhm.
essentially, I learned this today too. They started doing this because the Ajiji came to Earth because they found them. They knew, and Lil Enki and Anu were here, and they said we're fed up with this shit. So then they were like, okay, like we don't want to fight a war with you guys, so we'll make our own people. So they got out of the war with the Ajiji by starting to procreate and mix their DNA with the hominids on Earth, and that's the story of Isis giving birth to Adamu or Adam and the
Mhm.
Garden of Eden, all that, and then you have that's like and then like they needed more, and like obviously it takes a long time
Mhm.
for that to happen to give birth to a baby, so they started doing all the in vitro stuff to speed up the process of getting more humans on Earth,
Mhm.
more slaves for their work.
Yep. And you see, we've talked about the Bible being brought over from other ancient texts, right? And you have in the Bible, and I know I mentioned that God in the Bible is mistranslated from gods, plural, right? And you can see right here, they say in the Bible in Exodus 22:20, the first and most important commandment was that they must not worship any God other than the Lord. Whoever violated this commandment should be killed. What type of God is killing people
And this
for
is in the book of Exodus, right?
mm-hmm.
So this is old. So oh, we're about to get into it, baby. So this is Old Testament books or writing right here, right?
Yep.
So who gave these commandments to Moses, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
These Anunnaki gods, these same beings, and Lil Enki and Anu, they come up with these the Ten Commandments, right? They're the ones coming up with this stuff. And you have the Old Testament God, Yahweh, who is Enlil. And we can get into all of that. How, I don't know. No, we could talk about it.
How about we get into Yahweh? We could talk a little bit
Yeah, that's what I was
about
about to get. You could explain it if you want.
um
But so we have the book of Exodus essentially telling you that if you don't worship me, I'll kill you, right? So
mhm,
that's Yahweh speaking, essentially, God, or the one God in the Bible or in Lil telling you, he if you don't worship me, I'll kill you.
mhm.
So
I'm,
we can get into what Yahweh means.
I'm trying to find the image so I could pull it up.
Oh wait, I got
So
it on my phone.
you have it on
I
your
could
phone? Text it over to me and I'll pull it up. So
I screenshotted it.
essentially
Yeah.
the word Yahweh, each in what is it, Hebrew, each letter corresponds with a number. And through doing that, you actually see Yahweh encoded in the human DNA genome, right? So essentially we're in God left his signature in every human he created, right? Is
Because
essentially what that
they
means.
knew what they were doing when they created these hominid, or not the hominid, when they created us. They wanted to let us know what was up, and to essentially worship them, but also to let us know that how powerful they were. I just sent you 3 clips. The first
Yeah, I
two
see.
are the Yahweh being explained. The second, and then the third one we don't really have to get into,
Hmm.
but it's a whole
I'll try and open it.
open it, then we could read it because it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to get, I can't figure out how to get it
So if you
open
don't
right
know who
now.
Yahweh is the Old Testament God, the God in the Old Testament that's also correlates with Jehovah, like the Jehovah's Witness, like that's who they believe in right there. That's a whole group of people that don't know what they're worshiping.
A whole group of them.
Billy Carson talks about that, the Jehovah's Witness, because like they don't even know what they're worshiping. And there's a there's something about the, I don't know exactly, but the Jehovah Witness, like there's like a count on how many people they want on Earth.
Okay.
Like I could look it up real quick.
That's similar to the Georgia Guidestone, which
Yeah,
we could also talk about, which is very interesting. That would be a thing. Okay, so here I'll screen share now. I got it open. All right. So what we have here,
oh wait,
can
can I say this real quick?
yep.
Yes.
Can you see the image that I have open or no?
No, it's just your files. I don't know if you didn't click on it.
All right, here, hold up. Let me
But yeah, so I was saying about the Jehovah Witness, right? And
oh, here's one of them.
they're essentially worshiping Enlil in a sense, or Yahweh or
Hmm.
Jehovah. And their whole thing is they believe that only 144,000 people will go to heaven, and that all the other people who obey God will live forever on a paradise earth. They do not believe that God is a trinity, right? So they only believe in Jehovah as God, and they believe that 144,000 people will only get into heaven, right? So Billy Carson made the joke. He was talking to one of these people, and he said, you only believe 144,000 people are going to go to heaven. Why are you knocking on doors, spreading your good news to people? If you like, why are you spreading it to everyone if only
Hmm.
144,000 of you can go to heaven, essentially? And that's just like a slap in the face, because it's like people, Jehovah Witness live right down the block from me, and they show up sometimes knocking, trying to spread their gospel, and it's like, bro, why are you here? If you want to go to heaven and I want to go to heaven, like why would you keep
Why can't
telling
we
me,
both get in?
why can't we both get in? And two, why are you coming here to preach your gospel if you believe that only 144,000 people can essentially ascend to heaven? It's kind of just like
Yeah, which is a very interesting concept.
it's a very ridiculous religion.
Very ridiculous. And I mean, I think every religion in a sense is right, but I also think every religion in a sense is kind of lost in the sauce, if you know what I'm saying.
Definitely lost sauce.
um, I think we got to bring it back towards an internal God, right? And we
And
see it,
this right here will make you question
right?
your
Right. So the DNA is composed of 4 elements: hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon. When put together, form YHWG. Carbon is what makes us physical and earthly beings. When carbon is replaced with nitrogen, we have colorless, odorless, and invisible gases. They form the letters YHWH, which is the name of God, right?
You want me to read the next part?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is explaining all of that in more depth. Mapping the chemical sequences for human DNA, the chemical letters that make up the recipe of human life, is a breakthrough that is expected to revolutionize the practice of medicine by paving the way for new drugs and medical therapies, says one website. This discovery has lasting physical and spiritual implications. A direct link can easily be found between the building blocks of life and the creator of the universe. Mankind is fearfully and wonderfully made with a hidden code with the cell of every life. The code is the alphabet of DNA that spells out the creator's name and man's purpose. Scientists discovered a map of our 4 DNA bases that carried the ability to sustain life. These bases, known as chromosomes, are paired differently for each person. Human DNA contains 23 pairs of chromosomes made up of hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon, and their acidic counterparts. Encoded within these elements is an amazing blueprint of life that proves that the Creator put his own unique stamp upon every person. This stamp is actually his name as revealed to Moses thousands of years ago. So, like I just said, Moses was given the 10 commandments by who? Yahweh. By who? Enlil.
So that brings us back to the genetic tampering, right? So the tampering of with humans, Enlil, a highly technologically and spiritually advanced Anunnaki being, could have easily put his little maker's mark on humanity when he said, "Oh,
signature."
little signature on him,"
Like
which is
it's like Toy Story, right? There's Woody and there's Buzz and there's all the toys, and it's like, what do you write on the bottom of Woody and Buzz's foot? Andy. What do you write on the fucking genetic code of human beings? Enlil. Yeah. But then it also, so it says, Corey, pull up. Do you have the clip of the stacking of the Hebrew letters?
no, I don't think I have that.
I could send you that over too, so we can get more in depth.
You have that?
So
did I think I thought I sent that to you, or did I send you a picture?
You sent it to me. I'll pull it. I'll send it to you if you can't find it. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh, the 23 chromosomes, right?
Yep.
So we have 46 chromosomes in our body, right? So each Hebrew letter is associated with a numerical value. So you have there's the YW, what is it? YWH or YHWH, right?
Mm-hmm.
YHWH. So you have H, the letter, and that has a numerical value. And then you have Y. So you stack them up, and then add those 23 and 23 add up to 46, which is how many chromosomes we have in our body. And you could essentially see, if I find this clip, I can't find it. But when you stack those two Hebrew,
I'll try and find it, and I'll put it on the side of what we're talking about.
Yeah. Where's that mother? Yeah, I can't find it. But whatever.
It's all right. I'll put it on the side.
Look up, because we're getting all this knowledge from Billy Carson, ancient Egyptian ancient mystery schools. You can watch those.
A lot of this information is from there. Some of it. Yeah, I mean, there's so much information that we're still trying to figure out for ourselves, right? I mean, there's just so much to sort through. I mean, I find a new book that I want to read every day. Almost every day I find a new book.
You could look on my Amazon. Can I screen share my Amazon real quick?
Yeah, here, hold on. I'll make you the co-host. You can
I'll screenshot my Amazon fucking shit. You're gonna be mind blown. You're like, what the fuck?
You can you should be able to screen share now.
All right, I'll screen share.
Do you see the little green bubble in the middle?
Share screen. Look at this. Look at this, guys. COVID-19 Great Reset by Klaus Schwab. The Hammurabi, right? The Code of Hammurabi, the Tibetan Book of the Living and the Dying, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Bhagavad Gita, the books of Enoch, the angels, the watchers, and the Nephilim.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah, bro. The complete Apocrypha, the Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation epic, also known as the Atrahasis. If you look up the Atrahasis, it's essentially the same thing. And then we got the Nag Hammadi.
Atrahasis, are you saying that's essentially the same thing as the Enuma Elish?
Yeah, it's just like a different name for it.
Okay.
Like if you look at this, it says Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation epic, also includes the Atrahasis and the first great flood myth. So like the Atrahasis is essentially like the flood.
All right. Myth. All right. And those are both from the Sumerian tablets, correct?
Yeah. How do I stop? Yeah. So then we were talking about all the Anunnaki, right? So there's Enlil and there's the older half brother Enki. And Enki was less divine than Enlil, right? So Enki was always a little bit vengeful, or a little bit just like kind of probably annoyed, because it's like, if I had an older brother or a younger brother and he got gifted the kingdom over me and I'm older, right? Kind of like that, however that would make you feel, right? But Enki always had a special place in his heart for these humans. And Lil didn't, and Lil hated us. He just wanted us to slave away and work. But Enki knew that we had the power and the potential of the already existing hominids on Earth mixed with theirs, right? So he knew we were way more powerful. So that's like the story of the Garden of Eden. Also, the serpent comes in and gives Adam and Eve the apple being knowledge, the serpent being Enki. He's giving us that knowledge of our self-awareness and our higher consciousness, and tells Adam and Eve essentially, and all the other humans, you guys are way more powerful than us and can overthrow us essentially, because there was way more humans than there were of these guys.
And they're even talking about how they're communicating with people outside of the Garden of Eden. If Adam and Eve were the first two people on Earth, how would they be talking to people outside?
And that also,
right?
but I was gonna bring up too. Yeah, exactly. And they also they took all of us and separated us and put us all throughout the planet, so we couldn't come together.
Which is why when you look at those ley lines, right, you think that it was just randomly placed societies. Like, no, those societies were all placed on the ley lines. You could see in Mesopotamia, Egypt, you could see in South America, Teotihuacan in Mexico. All these sites are on the ley lines, right? And they all have pyramid shapes. One, they all are worshiping the Orion star cluster. Another thing that they all had in common, I mean, I shouldn't say all of them, that might be a bit much, but a lot of them were worshiping the stars, right? They understood where they came from, like they were star seeds, which is what they understood. And they've been around for as long as really you can go back to on Earth. And humans, so here's another interesting
I'll pull it up just so
here's another interesting thing we could talk about, right? So humans, oh, here's the ley lines. Okay.
Where is it? Where's the pick at? Where is it at?
It was just go back to images. Yeah, just zoom in on it. You could double click. Oh, there you go. Okay.
I'll just do like this. But so essentially, I don't necessarily know what these points are here, but this is obviously Giza, and you can see how they all connect following this ratio in the longitude and latitudes, right?
And this is a big one too, because there's more lines that go through
either here or this, not either here or here, right? One of these, probably this one, is potentially Atlantis.
So they say, and you could go check out Randall Carlson talk about that. And in the sunken city, there's a good clip of him on Joe Rogan kind of discussing how that city could have sunk after the ice caps were melting from the last ice age, and how it could have sunk into the ground. That's a great clip. You guys can check
out. That's science right there. That's not like just speculation.
Not that Randall Carlson's a scientist, but he studies all of the science of it and kind of puts it together. He's a researcher, right? He's an independent researcher.
Part of the 99.
But here, so talking about Randall Carlson, let's talk a little bit about what he's been up to, or not what he's been up to, but what he studies. So 200,000 years humans have been on Earth, right? Or we found fossils of humans up to 200,000 years old, which is a fucking long time. 200,000 years. What?
That goes back to 200,000 years ago is when all this genetic manipulation was going on.
Which is wild.
That's what.
But our accounts of humanity, we only have literature dating back 11,600 years, which is what Plato talks about, which is when the destruction of Atlantis occurred, right? That's the latest accounts of what happened on Earth happened.
Why though?
Right? Because there's been cataclysms on the Earth, right? And Randall Carlson talks about all of the the close contacts with the meteors that we've had in the last 30 years. He studied. There's at least a couple meteors, asteroids that zip by the Earth going tens of thousands of miles an hour, the size of football fields, that could wipe out
miles
long, that could wipe out areas the size of Texas and put us into a nuclear winter, that are zipping by, missing by 40,000 miles, 20,000 miles. If one of those happened to hit, we would get put back into the Stone Age.
Because humans don't know anything here. Like we have these phones, we have these computers where we could look up any knowledge, but there's no knowledge in here. So like if a cataclysmic event happened like this, which is these asteroids and comets are flying by all the time, they're 20,000 miles away, but like in the grand schemes of things, the fact that we're in an infinite universe, ever expanding infinitely, and there's asteroids that and comets that we could see passing us, and we don't even sometimes we don't even necessarily know they're coming until they shoot past us. So like you think of how big the space is, and then we have these asteroids and comets coming couple 20,000, 40,000 like miles away. It's pretty like it could eventually hit one day, and they talk about him and Graham Hancock 12,800 years ago. This started happening, like comets would just come all the time and hit, and it left us in the like another dark winter essentially. And humans, we don't have the capacity to restart civilization. It would be like we're starting all over again.
Well, it's also interesting because any accounts that we have of civilization right now look back to think of AD, right? After death. Any accounts of civilization that we have right now are on the internet, which is something we created that could be wiped out in an instant, right?
Facts.
Or it's on paper. And think about this: if we got set back into the Stone Age, an asteroid hits the Earth, anything that we have recorded on paper or the internet immediately is, it doesn't have that much long of a life. Like paper, how long can paper exist for? I don't know, a couple hundred years, right? And until it decomposes and it no longer exists. Even if there were hominids on Earth 50,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, we wouldn't be able to know what they were doing, what they were up to, their history, strictly because where would we see it? The reason we have knowledge of what was going on in Samaria and Mesopotamia and all in these different spots, right? And Egypt is because they recorded stuff through hieroglyphs and cuneiform tablets, where that lasts a whole lot longer, right? That they're
still there today
into stone. Exactly, it's still there today. You can still
not even scratching. It's laser precision.
It's laser precision. My bad. Yes.
Yeah, it's a whole nother thing that makes you think. And they're not. Some of them, I believe, are inscribed, but most are raised up.
Yeah.
And if you think, how the fuck are you doing that with laser?
Well, I think those societies were a whole lot more advanced than we give them credit for. I made a TikTok the other day, and somebody was like, "Oh, this kid's saying Egypt is more advanced than we give them credit for." I was like, "I."
No, and you brought up the first thing you said. The very first thing you said was that the universe is infinitely expanding at the speed of light, and I can look up the speed of light right now. What is
what are you looking up?
The speed of light is 299,792,458 meters per second, right?
Yeah.
So, and let's see what the coordinates of the
I think it's the latitude. It might be the longitude, but I'm pretty sure it's the latitude of the Great Pyramid is that same thing. And also, if you create a circle using, so here's the square of the Great Pyramid, you create a circle using the inner edges, and then you create a circle using the corners of it. If you subtract the inner circle from the outer circle, that circumference that you get, the answer that you get from that is also the speed of light.
Yeah, so the latitude that the Egyptian pyramid sits on is 29.9792458 degrees north, which is the speed of light. So again, try to convince me that essentially illiterate cavemen built these pyramids, right? Try to convince me that. And that did you just say
and also the fact that it's carved out of solid, I didn't even bring up the fact that it's carved out of solid stone, right? Ton blocks of stone, they weigh tons. I think the biggest one weighs 20 tons, right? And if those blocks of stone, not only are they one piece, they don't know how they got them there, where that stone came from. It's hypothesized they actually dug out the plateau under it to get those blocks there. Besides the point, those blocks, if they were off by a centimeter at the bottom of the pyramid, the entire pyramid would be skewed by feet by the time you got to the top, right?
Here's another fun fact.
What's it? Let's hear it.
There's so many fun facts.
Here you get. We'll go back and forth. Fun fact.
All right, here's another. Yeah, fun fact about the pyramid. So another fun fact is if you take up every height, every maximum tip or every peak rather of every mountain on Earth.
That's what I was gonna say.
You're thinking, if you take out every peak of every mountain on Earth, which is there's how many, probably millions of mountain peaks out there, right? and you add them all up and then divide them by how you take the average by how many mountain peaks there
Mhm.
are. It's I don't know what is it. What
It's
the
like
how
400 something feet. Yeah.
yeah, but it's
But
how
it's the
tall. It's
same.
exactly
It's
how
the
tall the
average. Yeah.
pyramid is.
But it could just be a coincidence.
Oh, it may be.
Could just be a coincidence.
But then again,
Uh,
how would you be able to even know? Like, sure, if we're even if we're saying it's a
uh,
coincidence, is it also a coincidence that it's the pyramids sit exactly in the center of the earth
exactly. Instead of, oh, is it
and
also a
exactly
coincidence that they
centered
follow
with
the exact
your
same
Orion?
alignment as Orion's belt?
Yeah, I
Is it
don't
also a coincidence
know.
that we can create a model of our inner solar system using the Giza Plateau and the
And those,
structures built on it?
yeah, and
Is it
is it
also a
also
coincidence that it's aligned within 3/60ths of a degree within true north? I,
yeah?
it could just be a coincidence, right?
And is it
But here, all right, off the pyramid. How about the fact that the fucking Egyptians had batteries, right? How do you know that one? You know they had batteries?
yeah? And
Egypt,
how about the fact that the Egyptians, everyone sees all these fucking people get tattoos of like the key of life, the Ankh key, but like no one knows what the power of the Ankh key is, right? So we'll pull up Nikola Tesla's oscillator.
here, I'm pulling up uh here. This is what I'm pulling up first. I'm pulling up the Baghdad Battery, man. These
Oh yeah, we can even talk about the Ark of the Covenant.
the Ark of the Covenant. Yeah, we definitely could. We definitely could. Yeah, the Baghdad Battery, right? They had electricity in Egypt. Think about this. Think about this. You ready? If they were had, if they didn't have electricity, or if they didn't have another method of lighting other than fire, which is what is thought to be at the time in Egypt, where would all the soot go when they were lighting the flames in the base in the cataclysm, or not the cataclysms, in the catacombs of the Great Pyramid, right? And in the crevices, Queen and King Chamber, the soot would be all the carbon would be rising up, and the ceiling would be covered in soot. But where is it? Nowhere to be found.
I don't know, dude.
I don't know.
I wasn't there. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they wiped it off, right?
Yeah, they had they if
No,
they
they
had
were too smart.
they had
If they were building a pyramid of that size, they're not gonna fucking ruin it doing that dumb crap. Um,
yeah, let me just light the Great Pyramids on
here,
fire.
what
Let's
did you
risk
want?
lighting the pyramid. Look up Nikola Tesla's oscillator, free energy oscillator. I believe that's the name of it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, no, that's the Jedi lightsaber. There it
Oh,
is.
yeah.
What the fuck is that?
What is that?
What is that?
Right?
What is that? I don't know. What that maybe is
What
a
is
quick.
that? Right? What did Nikola Tesla know that we didn't, man? He he understood what was going on. The Egyptians had some esoteric ancient occult knowledge.
Yeah, so they were yeah, bro. Esoteric cold knowledge. But they so they're using it's what it said is those so it's also said that the Egyptian pyramids were healing centers. And if you pull up a pic of the Egyptian pyramids, what they were supposed to look like or how they used to operate essentially, you could show them that pic you found of the guy that created a mini pyramid and then projected the energy upwards. But
Uh,
so the Anki, where you just showed, you could see how it's related to Nikola Tesla's electrical oscillator and how it could quite literally conduct energy. And you see all the gods in Egyptian hieroglyphs, they're depicted with holding it, right? And pointing it at people. And wait, let me pull up this.
here,
It's used to heal. It's a healing mechanism. Um, healing Ankh.
here, I got it up now. Here, I'm going to share my screen. There it is. Look at that. Look at that. So this researcher, I guess, created a pyramid in his laboratory, and using a Tesla coil, he was able to recreate how the energy actually flows up through the Great Pyramid, right? And I did I mean, you can't really see it over there. It's on the wall. A nice little painting of the Great Pyramid and the energy flying up into space from it. Um,
Uh,
but but yeah, the pyramids are energy portals essentially, they weren't building tombs that big. Nobody was getting a
No
tomb
one's life
the
is worth
Great
that.
Pyramid. Nobody's life is worth that much. They had other purposes, right? And then
I'm looking for this pic so people.
right, and those the reason they built them with the help of none other than Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom and writing, and the god of the moon, right? Author of the
Yup.
Emerald Tablets, also known as Hermes Trismegistus, Hermes from Greek culture, and Mercury from Roman
Yep.
culture, right? And he's got a whole lot of great works about mastery of the self, right? He talks about in the Emerald Tablets about how the Great Pyramid was used as a regeneration chamber, not as a tomb. And that regeneration chamber, he talks about an energy vortex in the Great Pyramid, right? The
Yep.
halls of Amenti, where he would go, and
Depths of the halls.
the
of the-
depths of the halls of Amenti, where he would actually get into skin suits, right? Essentially like avatar bodies, and he would transfer his consciousness into those avatar bodies, which
Yeah,
is
because avatars get tired, bro.
avatars
need-
get tired after
Yeah.
every 100 years or so. He said,
They
"Oh,
need-
all right, I'll retire this one for now." He'd let it recharge, and he'd go out,
Jump into a new one. Why
jump
do you think
into a new one.
you go to a new location?
Go, yeah, exactly. And now
And then, yeah, bro, that's shit. Crazy knowledge, bro.
it's just
4 billion knowledge.
forbidden knowledge, man.
Plus-
Get us on your team, Billy Carson.
No, I actually just hit him up today for an internship.
Yeah, that's good. That's
I
like,
mean, I don't know. I don't know if Forbidden Knowledge does internships, but I hit him up because I saw on Unite
I'll
the
hit him up for
99.
an internship too. I'll start doing some
Yeah,
video
I searched
editing for him.
on Unite the 99. He posted asking people for testimonials of like the Forbidden Knowledge workshops or whatever. And I
Yeah.
was like, he asked people to email him, and I was like, I haven't gone to any workshops for you, but I watch all your stuff, and essentially I'm writing to you to ask if they do any like internships type stuff. So I'm waiting to get. They say it says on his website that they get back to everyone. So I don't know if they do or don't, but that would be crazy.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Crazy.
I guess we'll find out. All right. Thoth, man, he architect of the Great Pyramids. Go check it out. Go check out the Emerald Tablets of Thoth if you haven't. You know, some good work. Emerald
That's
Tablet of
crazy.
Thoth.
Talks about this.
Hermetica, I started reading the other day.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I started that one. I read the Tao Te Ching, which is the main teaching of Taoism, which is very interesting.
Mm.
That's a good one to check out. Only like 30 pages long, but they created essentially an entire way of thinking, which is that of the Tao, Tao, right? Based on that one work. You
That's
know,
crazy.
thinking of Tao, which is essentially similar to like Chi, life force energy. It talks about the Tao, which flows through everything, and it just basically is the life force, right?
It's cool.
Yeah,
And
but
all these, like you said, it's only 30 pages. Like a lot of these ancient texts aren't really that long
mhm.
alone by themselves. But then, like if you get books of them, they're usually long, couple hundred pages because
And
people
a lot of times you want to see people explain them too, because it's kind
Yeah,
of hard
'cause
to
they-
interpret them. They're written
it's
more
kind of-
along the lines of like poetry a lot of times,
it
and
is
that's
poetry.
why it's been mistaken that they're fables, I guess. Like, but they were, what are they fucking writing science fiction 8,000 years
Billy
ago?
Carlson says that all the time. It just brings up another fact. This is another fact. So back in the ancient times, they only had papyrus, right? Which is a kind of paper, right? That's all they had. And there was a limited amount of papyrus. That's why like the Egyptian Book of the Dead, like on it, it says like the papyrus of Ani, like it's like papyrus paper, right? So there was only a limited amount. So the only people allowed to use these papers were the Anunnaki gods, like people in positions of power. Like some people will say like, oh, this is all fiction, like they were just writing stories, like this and that. Like, no, they weren't, because the only people that were able to use these papers were high nobles in the societies and the civilizations. And anyone that tried to get their hands on a papyrus and just write a a or a fiction story for the heck of it would literally get killed. So like the only people writing shit down back then were the people that knew what was going on, the people like Thoth, the Anunnaki, like all these people. Like
Well,
if you
Thoth
want,
was an Anunnaki. That's why we're bringing up the skin suit and
what's
the
up?
other stuff. Well, Thoth was an Anunnaki, right? I mean,
Was an Anunnaki?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just
Um,
saying him and
yeah.
others.
So, all
Like,
right, well,
isn't that crazy fact? Like,
crazy fact.
you want to write down a fake story, like, yeah, you'll risk your life writing that fake story. Like, there was no fake shit going on because, like, who the fuck wanted to die? Only nobles could write the stories.
Here, so
Who's wasting the paper to write fiction stories?
before we head out, I brought this up. We didn't get to talk about it when we were talking about the expansion of the universe. You could see here are the constellations. Look, so this is one of 31 million different positions that the Hubble Space Telescope can zoom into, right? So this is 1/30 millionth of our sky, right? They zoomed in and they took a high exposure picture, and look at that. Those are all galaxies. Those are all galaxies, okay? We have I think it was 200 billion stars in our 5% of oh no, I don't have the tab open anymore.
Oh, it's probably like 200
It's
trillion.
no, it's 200 billion stars, I believe, in our galaxy. Don't quote me, but then there's somewhere around 200 to 300 million planets orbiting planetary star systems in our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy. And then there's billions, trillions, an infinite amount of galaxies outside of that. And people like to say, we're the only ones out here, right? Nobody else in our neck of the woods. Like
Very ignorant thing to say.
very egocentric, right? Yeah, that's like are we still thinking that the Earth is the center of the galaxy like they did with the what is it, the heliocentric
rotated around the Earth, bro.
yeah, the heliocentric, right? Is that what it's called? The heliocentric model of the universe?
I believe, yeah.
All right, let's look it up. Heliocentric. Here. Oh no, that's the sun is the center. I don't know. Geocentric is
Esoteric.
yeah. All right. Yeah, just thought that I thought that's kind of interesting how you could see that many galaxies. How much life is out there? They zoom into all that. How many other planets?
And Jesus, this
You
is
think there's other people? You think there's other extraterrestrial forms up there dancing and singing and doing backflips and doing whatever type of sports they made up? Like probably. Like they're probably having fun just like we are, man. Like that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
And then you got, this is a whole nother thing too, but like the great year, right?
Uh-huh.
25,920 years, right? That's how long it takes for the Earth to fully do a rotation, a 360-degree rotation of itself, right?
Yep.
So,
well, pole to pole, right?
Pole to pole, yes.
Yeah.
Pole to pole.
So it's
like on its a rotation around its axis.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's where you get.
That's
where
how
you,
long it takes, and then you look up those numbers inside the pyramids, right? So, one 3/60th of that, so 1 degree on the around the great year is 72, right? And then you get into all that numerology, and then there's, what was the number I'm looking for? Oh,
43,200 is the model of the Great Pyramid is 143,200 the size of Earth, which is 600 times 72. A great documentary for that is The Hidden Mathematics of Our Universe, on After School with Randall Carlson. That's a real good one. Randall Carlson goes into it. You haven't seen it.
And then there's each like age of the star constellations, right? So like each age of the star constellation is, as we move into it, takes 2,160 years, right? So that's 1/12 of the great year, right? So that's like when people talk about like, oh, the Earth just shifted into the age of Aquarius. Jesus was saying this way back in the day. And how could a man like Jesus, who was also living during these times where they had no knowledge of anything. They couldn't tell the star patterns or this and that.
They were still banging sticks together.
They're just still banging sticks and rocks together, ooh, banging on their chest, being monkeys, right? But Jesus is saying, or I don't know what the Bible quote is, but the man with the bucket of water, right?
All the man
And
with the bucket of water. He's
essentially
referencing.
the age of Aquarius, which
Mhm.
is might be, I don't know.
No, the age of Aquarius is dawned now. In 2012, the age of Aquarius has dawned. We are in the age of Aquarius now. It has dawned on us. That's why there's so much turmoil in our world right now, right? And it's the negative power structures and energy structures purging themselves.
Yeah, that's the thing. We just hopped into a new cycle.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people say like the new Earth, because like Earth just completed a full rotation of the great year, and we're alive for that. And that's not
Exactly.
other news.
The first
That's
time since before
crazy.
Jesus was born. The first
That's
time we're
crazy.
into it.
25,920 years, and we're alive for the rebirth of the
Right
new
now.
age,
What better
the new
time than now? Who's better than us? Who's better than us?
one.
No one. All right. But yeah, man, we're going straight to the 5D. That's what it's all about. And we're running.
What we talk about today?
We
Infinite
talked
space,
we talked about
time
infinite
space,
space.
infinite space time.
We talked about the logos. We talked about Sumerian tablets and the story of creation. We talked about it all. We
Talk about
touched
it all.
we touched
We touched infinity today,
we
but
touched infinity. But what's not infinite
infinite,
is the
infinite.
time on this podcast. We've been talking for a minute, chatting our brains off. I'm hungry. I got to eat some dinner.
5.
5D, man. We're going to the 5D. And if you made it this far, God bless you.
If you listen this far, man,
God bless
bless
you.
your soul, man. Bless your soul.
God bless. Yeah, man, that's it. But we'll end it on we're watching you, YouTube.
Yeah, fuck you, YouTube. You scumbag.
All right. Good night, everybody.